I just thought there was an interesting angle of this guy who's like taken a sabbatical from any and all violence, like will not touch a gun, will only carry pepper spray. And there's something great about, being in this kind of high octane action film where Sam's character is an assassin. So naturally he is carrying weapons and guns all the time, has no problem with it, is just totally integrated into his personality. But my character's kind of at odds with it also. So I really enjoyed that aspect or that element of the movie, and it's something I've been able to do in a few sort of larger scale action films lately. Is that necessity is the mother of invention. So if you take away this idea that we step up to the plate in all sort of action sequences using guns as tools of violence, and instead we have to think outside the box and say, okay, like if you're going to do a big fight sequence and you're not going to use guns, what do? And it stretches everybody. It makes everybody better. It makes me better, So I love that. My character, Bryce, is sort of the kind of, less, I guess, more violent, in the more violent world of like Neil Page and Del Griffith from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'm this like exasperated straight man who's just had enough. And Sam kind of brings this mercurial, crazy element. And then Selma just like next levels that. So, we're really sort of filtering the narrative through the prism of Bryce's kind of viewpoint and experience of these two people who are literally made for each other. They're crazy, his crazy matches her crazy and vice versa. So it really does bring it to a new level. I'm obsessed and I love this cast. I mean, working with Sam is like this, I always think of me and Sam are sort of like kelp underwater, like we kind of like move together in this great way with the current. And then when you add Salma into the mix, who I think just makes both of us better at what we do and really wakes us up each and every day. It was such a ball. It was just such a ball, every second of it. I know a lot of actors say that they miss their cast or miss their crew when they're leaving a set. I don't know if it's always genuine, but with this film, it really was. Like leaving that set and leaving those guys, and us all, head back to our normal lives. It took some adjustment because it was just such a beautiful experience to shoot with them. Salma, had just one of those kind of classic, came in, pilfered all the scenes in the first movie. She's the limited screen time she had, she just was such a fan favorite. So it was a no-brainer. I think it was one of those things where it's always important to listen to your movie when you're shooting it. So Salma really brought something to the table in the first movie that needed to be explored and exploited further. And I don't even think anyone really talked about it. It was just a given that she was going to be the headliner of the second film. Sam Jackson, he's not only a legend, but he's just an incredibly generous actor, and I have a really unique chemistry with him. And chemistry is something that I don't think that you can manufacture. It's either there or it's not. It's a weird thing, and when you have it with someone and you find it with someone, it's special because you're working with two people that know when to hit the brakes and know when to hit the gas, and it's this unspoken kind of code. And Sam is he's an incredibly adept improvisational actor as well, which is, for me, is always a bonus because that's where I come from. So working with him in that context is pretty awesome. And, and I just love him as a person. I just really love Sam. He really can kind of make a lot out of very little, and that's what you have to do in these kinds of action movies these days. So, and he's very good at listening to the movie, which I think is important, like understanding that you have a script and a blueprint and a direction in which you're going, but you also can sometimes pause, listen to your film, and pivot and change and move in other directions, and he's really good at that. And also just a good friend of mine. I still text with him this morning. He's just like he's a good soul. The sequel builds on the first movie in a delightful way. Sometimes it can be terrible because a sequel will just sort of exploit all the great things about the first movie and then reiterate them again. This movie doesn't do that. It sort of hijacks the tone and the sentiment in a great way, but gives life to so many more new and wild elements. So it really does improve upon that. Also, like, it was conceived from the get-go as an action comedy, unlike the first movie, which was sort of pivoted and recalibrated into something shortly before shooting. I just remember that it was mostly Selma and I that were soaking wet for half the movie. We were jumping in, oceans and rivers and streams and all kinds of stuff. I mean, the movie really covers a cross European kind of adventure. So, lots of stunts, lots of bumps, lots of bruises. But they're all spoils of war. It's all part of the job. It's fun. Shooting in Croatia was special. I mean, it's not every day you get to go, to a country like that and really immerse yourself in that culture and spend time, in that among those people and in those sites. Also, when you're shooting a film, you're sort of sent to the most amazing places and locations that country might have to offer. So I loved shooting in Croatia. It's always great and special too when you get to go someplace that you've never been to before. So I was there with my whole family. They loved it as well. It was really beautiful.